Good evening, everyone. Evening, afternoon. Thank you guys for connecting with Whitney and I as we talk a little bit about caregivers. That's what we do. Our podcast is Conversations with Sinder K, and I am your host, Sinder K. But we also have Whitney here, who is has a ministry, a movement of her own for caregivers, and I am just so honored, Whitney, to be on this Zoom podcast with you because we've met. We've never met in person. We met over the internet, the power of the net, and I followed you for a while, and just really wanted to connect with you because I loved what you were doing and the way that you were doing it, and the numbers that you were bringing in, which alluded to the people that you're helping. So thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Is your
You're
mic on?
so,
Yes, go ahead.
you're so welcome. I'm so happy to. I'm honored just to be on this podcast with you, and it's an honor to have met you as well. Like you said, our journeys are very similar when it
Mhm.
comes to what we do for caregivers, and I think we've connected, and I know this is going to be
Mhm.
a long-term connection.
Yes, yes, yes. It's such a sisterhood. And so I want you to talk. We're going to take a little time at the end to talk a little bit about the events that you have, because, to know me is to know that I'm all about the community and taking care of seniors and boomers and caregivers in the community. But you guys are doing some really exciting things. And what I love about it is a collaboration. The two of us is that we've been, just kind of sharing back and forth. And hopefully we're going to get together and do some things and take this thing, nationally. It is such a big, I'm sure you will agree, it is such a big undertaking. I think for so long, caregivers have just been, pushed. There's a silent group that has been pushed to the back, to the background, and they do what they do, and it's a very thankless job. And so that's what we want to bring out. But today we want to talk about caregiver support. We want to talk about why we do what we do and how we can reach out into our individual communities to heighten our mission and to, just connect with one another, to bring our ideas and our visions to the table so that we can make it bigger and better. The first thing I wanted to ask you, tell us a little bit about your personal journey, because I know most of us, either you've been a caregiver, you're going to be one, or you're going to need one. That's just the way it is. So talk a little bit about your why, and what caused you. I think you just started the beginning of the year, right? Is that
No, no. So I've
okay?
been a caregiver. I became a caregiver at 16 years old.
Okay.
At 16, I got a CNA license in high school.
Okay.
And my why at that time was because my grandfather had cancer. And so he was getting a lot of home health. That's when I first got into learning what hospice was and what they do and all of that. And so all throughout from 16 up to now, which is like a span of about 25 years, I
Okay.
have been a caregiver all throughout college. I've worked in other industries and caregiving, sometimes it's been my part-time and then it would be my full-time.
Mm,
And now it's pretty much my full-time. I devote my daily schedule, my life to being a caregiver, whether it's for family or serving other families with caregiving. So
under,
that's pretty much my why. I love people. I feel like it's a beautiful thing when you reach that place in life where you're doing what you feel you are purposed to do. And out
mm-hmm,
of all the
mm-hmm,
careers and things that I've done, this is what I feel I've been purposed to do.
yes,
And I shied away from it for so long because caregivers were looked at as just like you just stated, being at the bottom. Like if you're a CNA, you're just a CNA. If you're a
right,
PCA, you're a PCA. You're not a nurse, you're not a doctor,
yes,
you're not
yes,
none of that. But it's us in our hands that work to do the groundwork and the
yes,
communication with staff, with families. And being an aide of any sort, you learn. So you learn a lot. You learn to be observant. You learn the ropes. You learn a lot in other fields because you have the opportunity to observe and be on the journey. with that person while they're going through whatever illness they're going through.
Yes, yes. That is so true. You made a great point and it brought back memories. For 15 years, I owned an adult healthcare center, adult day healthcare. And I would always share with my age. We had the RN, we had the LPN, then we had the CNAs. And I would share with my CNAs and keep them encouraged that the role of the CNA is unlike any other role. It's like, you have your RNs, you have your LPNs, and they do what they do, which is very important. But that CNA, that nursing assistant, is touching that person, is getting to know that person, getting to hear their stories, getting to know their families. It's a much more intimate role. And so you saying that you started there, now I've never been there, but I've experienced from, operating a long-term care program for so long. I understand all of the roles. And out of all the roles, I just really feel that CNA, that nursing assistant, is one of the most important roles. You become a friend, you become a family. You know what I'm saying? You really build a cohesive relationship with your client. And so I can tell by that being your start, where you started from, why you have the heart that you do right now, toward seniors. And so your network is called the Caregivers Network, right?
The
Caregivers
support group.
Support group. Support group. That's what I want to talk about. Is the support. How important do you feel, Whitney, that support, having a network of support, is to a caregiver being successful? Not just being a caregiver, but a successful caregiver. How important are networks?
Oh, it's very, very, very important. I think when we think about anything that we ever do in life, having a network of support is important because support is what keeps you lifted. It's kind of like the pillars. It keeps you lifted. It keeps you, that's your system that keeps you motivated. It keeps you going, whether it's a support system from family, friends, or church ministry, or your religious beliefs. Wherever that support is where you find your strength. And so for caregivers, I started the caregiver support group because I know that their caregivers need an outlet, and every caregiver is not a volunteer on the journey. Some people, their circumstances made them a caregiver. They may be a caregiver to a spouse or a caregiver to a child. And so the journey is brand new. They didn't ask for it. They didn't, raise their hand and say, look, I'm gonna do it. But they stepped into the role. And so in stepping into a role, a lot of times that you don't have a blueprint for, you need a support group. So the supporters, we're here for questions, we're here for emotional support, when there's a hard day, or not just a hard day, but when someone, maybe the caregiver, is trying to mentally process the transitions that they're watching happen in a loved one's life, and they need someone that they can talk to. And so that's the big part of a network. What we don't have present in that network, then we have referrals. We have different agencies or different people, whether it's a therapist, whether it's a counselor.
Partners.
Yes, we have partners that we can also refer them to, so that it doesn't just stop with our group of, I think 500, maybe a little over 500 people. It doesn't just stop in that group, but even outside of that, we can extend to other people that are in different states, in different areas. And that's the beautiful thing about social media. It allows us to be global, so that
Right.
no matter where you are, in what
So
state,
wonderful.
yes, you can just join in and meet somebody else that may be in your same location.
So wonderful. You said a whole lot there. First of all, you said that the role of a caregiver is not one that we choose. Most times we don't choose it. It is thrust upon us. If it's a spouse or if it's a mother, we step into that role and we have no training. Most of the time, we're doing what we think we know is correct. We have no training. We don't really have the support because it's during those times that, friends and family might get a little scarce.
Right.
Everybody's busy,
Right.
but one person has accepted the assignment. They understand the assignment is to take care of mom. Mom took care of us. We're going to take care of
Yeah.
mom. And so that person understands the assignment. But then, even in doing that, you said something else. We were talking about, and I was reading this today in my study, unpaid caregivers. When you assume the role of a caregiver, you're assuming a lot. You're not just assuming, taking mom to the doctor or fixing a meal of food. There are there are 56 million caregivers in the United States. Okay. 90% of those are unpaid. So when you step into that role, sometimes caregivers have to leave their job. Sometimes they
Mhm.
have to go from full time to part time, which causes trauma in the family, which causes an adjustment in the economy of the family. And they have to take a little and make a lot happen. You know what I'm saying? And so therein lies what I love to talk about is the circle of support. And that's why what you do,
Yeah.
that network is so important because not only do you have the connectivity of other caregivers so that we can hear their stories and know that we're not alone, we're not isolated, but then we can find out different ways. You
Right.
understand what I'm saying? Different
Yeah.
ways, different strategies. How are you doing this? How are you making your ends meet? How are you, what is Medicare doing for you? And so that's why it's so important. Another reason it's so important because, like you said, we're thrust into roles that we're really not prepared for. But as we go, we grow and we
Yeah.
obtain. And so then we have those professional caregivers that you also mentioned about who come
Mhm.
in to be a part of our circle of support. Talk about that a little bit. Because you work in the medical field and how important it is to not only have the family caregiver but the professional caregivers who can teach us, train us, and make our road a little easier.
Yes. So you said so much there. Look, it's so much I
Okay.
want to say, but look, because when we
A
get
lot to
started,
say in a little time.
I know you be so passionate about it, and there's so much you want to share. But professional caregivers are just as important. I don't want to downplay their role, not one bit, because they are needed. Because we also have to have somebody to report to that can actually help in the position that we're in. So not only do they help train us, but they also help to diagnose. They help with treatments. They help with strategies. You said three key words in your last statement, which was sacrifice and strategy, and I added servant to it to make three,
Yes,
because we're all serving the people, we're all sacrificing something to serve. When you serve, you have to sacrifice something, whether it's your time, it's your family time, it's your life, and no matter what role it is, professional or family, being a caregiver, we need strategies.
hmm,
So they help us to, when you have not just, they may not be a hands-on caregiver like a nurse or a doctor, but we also have social workers that we
yes,
work with, discharge planners, nurses that help to strategize therapies at home, all different types of things. They help us to put that strategy in place so that um, the client or the patient can get the proper care.
absolutely. Yeah, that is so true. And not only them, not only the professional, now you also have the community network when we're talking
Yes.
about the Council on Agings and your church, your church community. All of that can be developed into that circle. And when a friend of mine, Veronica Collier, she always say, because her mom has Alzheimer's, and she talks about it very well. She says, when someone asks me, is there anything I can do? Oh, you better believe I've got something. You know how we say, oh, no, 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 that's okay. Oh, no,
Yeah.
no, no. When someone asks you, then you give them the opportunity to become a part of that circle is so important because we were talking about last month caregiver burnout. This picture
Yeah.
is so huge that we can't even touch it all within an hour. Caregiver burnout, depression, stress, and if a caregiver does not have the ample respite, the ample support, then they cannot be the amazing caregivers or successful caregivers that they can be, which means that the care receiver is not receiving all that they can all that they should have. What do you think about that?
I agree so much. Because caregiver burnout is real. It is a real topic. It's a real thing. And people are experiencing it every day. And what you just said about the extending a hand when people offer something. And that's something that I know a lot of people shy away from. They say, oh, we don't need anything, or we're okay, or we figured it out. But really, there is always something to do, whether it's just having someone to bring a meal. That's one
Yes.
less meal that the caregiver has to worry about cooking or serving. It takes the small things. The community can definitely help with small things. And that's what I found, like with local churches or with local missions and things like that, that they can help with small things, but they remove a big burden.
Right.
Um, so, but back to caregiver burnout and the caregiver taking care of themselves. I think that having sessions like this, having groups like what you have for savvy caregivers, groups like what I have for caregiver support, helps us to support people. Helps us to develop different strategies and ways that we can support caregivers that are experiencing depression,
Mm-hmm.
that are experiencing anxiety, that are experiencing, maybe they're working, but they're still experiencing financial hardship
Right.
because, of the things that they have going on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so again, that goes back to us having, that's a topic that I do want to discuss for next month, November. I think that'll be good for us to go on caregiver burnout and just talk about different ways that we can support caregivers in that
Absolutely.
aspect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's so important. 34% of caregivers pass away. They transition before the cancer care receiver that that they're taking care of. And why is that? Because of the burnout, of the stress, of the depression.
Mhm.
Now they're moving their doctor's appointments back
Yep.
because they're taking care of mom and they're not taking care of they're not taking their medication. They're feeling hopeless and with no community support. And so now I've seen it happen. And it's a
Yep.
sad, sad thing when that primary caregiver leaves and now mom is left for what?
Mhm.
Who's going to take now? Who's going to take care of mom? And
Mhm.
that's the other reason I love what you just said about, really honing in on this for our next month because it's so important. Because, first of all, it's so many steps to this. When you're talking about a family, speaking of caregiver support, when you're talking about a family that has multiple siblings and multiple family members, we must build a culture. When I was younger, you're younger than I am, but when I was younger, we had a culture of caring for one another. Okay, we
Mhm.
didn't, in my family, we didn't do the nursing home thing and all of that. No, we took care of one another, and people do what they have to do. I'm not against nursing home. But
Right.
because of the circle of support. And this is what I love to teach families. Actually, I'm consulting with a family next week about this because there's infighting within the family because some family members feel like, well, I'm doing all the work and it's his mother too. And what I teach people, caregivers about that is everyone does not have the capacity. We have to be fair.
Yes.
Everyone does not have the capacity to deal with an aging, ailing, chronically ill loved one, especially a mother or father.
Yes.
They don't have it. And so we have to be fair to everyone, but there is something that he can do. You understand what I'm
Right.
saying? Let me give you
Yes.
an example. My mother lived in Indiana. My sister and brother were in Indiana with my mom. My sister was her primary caregiver. She made sure, she lived with mama. So she made sure the bills were paid, the doctor's appointments were made, the laundry. She did a lot.
Right.
After a while, she went into the burnout thing. So when that happens, now you hate everybody. It's just, you
Yes.
can't have a
Yes.
decent conversation and, it's all on me. I don't care. And so we had to put a plan together. My brother and his wife had to take a piece, be it doing the laundry, doing the groceries, or what have you. Okay. And then because he was there where she was at, taking mama to the doctor's appointment. Okay. But I'm here. And so what
Right.
I would do, I would fly out every other month to spend some time with mama so that my sister could have some respite. But then also, I was the financial piece. So if mama needed clothes, if she needed, if she had anything to do with money, then I was the one that would step up to take care of that. you know. And so then when we put that plan in place, it began to work so flawlessly, even when it got to the point that, we had to relieve mama too. She needed 24-hour care. It happens. And we had to, she had to live in a living center because my sister couldn't do it anymore. We still had a schedule.
Yeah.
Grandchildren and everybody. We were like soldiers. They knew what they call her Miss Cat. When Miss Cat's kids came, it was we were like. But this is what families need to learn to do.
Right.
It's difficult while you're going through it, Whitney, but after it's over, at the end, you understand what I'm saying?
Oh,
When
yes,
she
absolutely.
closed her eyes, you feel
Yes.
good because you know that you gave her the quality of life. She did for us. We did for her what she did for us. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
We did
Yes.
for her what she would have done for herself if she could. And so, even though the journey is long, especially when you're speaking of dementia and Alzheimer's, because
Yeah.
the care receiver, the loved one, can be physically healthy, but
Right.
mentally,
And
cognition is leaving. That can be a long, long journey. That can be years
yes.
and years and years.
Years.
So that we don't have burnout and we can keep family love and cohesiveness, we have to put plans in place.
Yes.
What
I
you think?
love that. That's a beautiful, beautiful story. Beautiful.
Yes, it
Yeah.
was. It was. Yeah, and we were very proud of that. And so I
Yes.
teach families that, and when they get it, one person can do little, one person can do much. But
Yes.
together,
Yes.
and you're doing what mom, what we're honoring her. Oh, yes, I love that. We're honoring her through her journey.
Yes. Through her
She doesn't
journey.
need to hear, he doesn't need to hear infighting amongst the kids and people groveling and angry because they have to, come and give respite. They don't deserve that.
Right.
And so that's why that support system is so important, and it's important to pull in the church and the neighbors and whomever are willing
Mm-hmm.
workers, to help us to
Yes.
get through this journey. And then we will do the same for them, you know.
Yes. Yes.
And we're developing a culture within our family so that our children will see how it's done.
Yes.
See, when it's my turn, I want my kids to see, oh yeah, this is how we're not gonna treat mama this way because this is not how we do it. We do it this way.
Right. Together. And I think in saying and listening to you just explain your journey, the piece that I see a lot of family members missing is that they don't really understand what all it takes to be a primary caregiver when they're looking in and they haven't actually come in to just have a full day or a full week to see what their primary person actually does. Because a lot comes, like you were saying, with your sister being the primary caregiver, you and your brother may not have realized immediately how much she actually had on her plate
Hmm.
until you guys came to a consensus like, look, we need to have a meeting. We need to, okay, let's see what all there is. Let's see. Then you can decide and see, okay, well, I can take this off your hands.
Right.
But a lot of times with families, what I see is that people it's hard, especially it's different for each culture. I work with a
Yeah.
lot of different cultures, and it's very different amongst cultures and how they handle the family members. A lot of times the conflict is, I mean, there are numerous conflicts, but most people complain about the primary caregiver, but nobody really steps in to want to help take off the load.
Correct.
And then there's other situations, like I have a family from Lebanon, where their culture is they don't leave the spouse. You know, if
Hmm.
they're married, they don't leave the spouse. If the
Right.
spouse is sick, they have to be there. And so I was just dealing with a situation last week where I had the husband having a back surgery, going into rehab, and the wife never left the hospital. She spent the night in the hospital for 12 days, and I'm talking about somebody in their 80s spending
Yes.
the night in the hospital for 12 days straight. The children were trying to pull her out of the hospital, trying to pull her out of the rehab, and she refuses to allow anybody to come in and be respite. She wants to, I mean, even if she can't do anything but give this man a glass of water if he asks
Right.
for it, that's what she wants to do. And it's hard to you can physically see that she's burned out, but because of the cultural beliefs, she's not going to leave that man's side.
Right.
And, it's just, it's
It's
different amongst families.
different cultures because in
Totally.
Japan, I believe, I'm almost positive it's in Japan, it's against the law not to take care of your elders.
Really?
Yes, yes. I'm going to Google that so I
I'm
can make
gonna look
sure I'm
that
on
up.
point. But it's against the law in some cultures to treat the elders like we treat them here in our country. Yeah, it is, and I think it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I think it's wonderful. And our systems. That's the other thing is our systems are not designed. I'm sorry, I just don't see our country really caring. And I don't know if it's a state by state level. I've lived in several states, but we do not give honor our seniors the way that we should.
Right.
We
I
do
see
not.
it. I agree.
You see it. You see it.
I
Especially
agree.
here. I hate to say it. I live in Louisiana. I'm sorry, but it's true. Some the way they live, some of the places that they live in. When I had
Mhm.
my adult daycare center, I literally moved a couple of my seniors out of their blighted, dilapidated apartments and let them come live with me until I could find better housing for them. Live with me
Wow.
and my family because I always had that heart. If I take care, if I make a commitment to take care of you,
Yeah.
I'm taking care of you.
Yes.
I'm just going to take,
That's me.
and it worked out very successful. We never really did get the family on board in one specific situation, but he left here well. He left here. He adopted us, and we adopted him. You know,
Yes.
and so that's a part of my journey, and I'm sure you have your own. And I'm just so excited that we can talk about this. We have to do this again and
Yeah.
invite caregivers to come in to tell their story and to speak their truth because it's so important. It's
Yes.
so
It
important. And everybody's journey is uniquely different from the other. Do you find that?
Yes, yes. I find there are some things that are similar, but everybody's just what you said, everybody's journey is unique. It's
Unique.
designed to be unique.
Yes.
And based on whatever the condition of the loved one is or the client is, based on their condition, I see similarities amongst that part of the journey. But each individual, it's unique. Your journey is unique to you. I feel like when you're taking care of someone, you've been assigned to serve that person for whatever time that they're here on earth.
Right.
And during that time that they're here, your assignment is to honor them, like you were saying you did for your mom. And that's our assignment every day, is
Right.
to honor the person that we're
Honor.
taking. We're showing that we honor the life that they live. We're showing that we honored the morals that they set. We're showing that we honor who they are as just being a human being. We
Right.
respect them. We respect their life. We're showing them that dignity and respect through giving care.
Right. Awesome. It's amazing. Well, I mean, we're out of time. We could talk and talk and talk on and on. Before we leave, I want you to talk about what you're going to do and your goals. Am a geriatric care manager. I work with families. I have worked with seniors right now. My mission seemed to be my target are the caregivers. I go into homes. I do assessments. I'm an advocate in certain areas. I make sure that the homes are proper and that the families that reach out to me, need the resources or help them to find the resources that they need so that their loved one can have optimum care. And I know that you guys who are listening, who are watching, you guys have heard me and seen me on social media talking about the savvy caregivers. Oh my God, it's so amazing. You have to come and sit in on one of those workshops. They're amazing. And I'm telling you, these are active aging. Some of them are baby boomers, but they're active aging individuals who are caregivers and they come for a reprieve. They come just to sit and to listen. And we bring in excellent providers and
Yes.
instructors and demonstrator coaches that can coach them through their journey. We make sure that they have a wonderful meal, that they have a good time. And speaking of that, coming up before I turn it over to you, on November the 2nd, we're going to have our first Savvy Senior Super Fest. super senior fest. It's going to be amazing. We're going to
Yes.
have the entertainment stage. We're going to have food. We're going to have giveaways. We're going to have probably about 30 plus vendors. And we're just going to take over the city of Gretna. We got to put a big billboard up on the highway because this is the caregiver movement. We're changing
Yes.
this thing around, girl. For so many
Yes.
years, it's been sad, drab, don't want to talk about the caregivers. Oh, no, we're celebrating our
Yes.
assignment and we're strengthening
Yes.
each other. See, that's the thing that makes us feel so downtrodden as caregivers because we think we're unseen. Nobody sees us. Nobody really care. So now we're living out loud and we're saying this.
Yes.
We're doing what's on your hat. Pray. That's a gorgeous hat.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And we're going to pray through, but we're going to strengthen each other and lift each other through this journey. So, yeah, I want you guys to just on November 2nd, save the date. It's going to be phenomenal. We are working day and night. I got people on the ground, I got people in the air, but we want this to be an
Yes.
amazing event for caregivers. So, you guys get ready for that. And now we're going to find out what we're doing over here with you, my dear, and what your goals are and how we can help you, how we can work together.
Yes, well, look, we're already connected. I wish I could make it there on November 2nd. November
Oh,
2nd, right? Yeah,
November
I'm
2nd.
booked. I'm booked that day, but we are going to get together and do an event. Um, my business is with the multipreneur, and underneath that umbrella comes the caregiver support group. And coming up, we have our first meetup in Sterling, Virginia. That's October the 13th. So for those that are around the area of Sterling, Virginia, you're welcome to come. And it's a time for caregivers to basically exhale, to be pampered. We do have some vendors there, some local community resource people that will be available. It's free. And we're gonna relax and network. Because like you said, my goal is to build a network and have it in person, not just online, but I
Yes,
want to have a meeting in each state. I want to touch all 50 states and connect with
yes.
people like yourself and host a caregivers meetup. So that one will be in Sterling,
Love it.
Virginia. Yeah, and the following weekend is October the 26th. I'll be in Durham, North Carolina. I partnered with Kingdom in Motion Radio, and she wanted to dedicate this. This is the radio's fifth anniversary, and she wanted to dedicate this year to caregivers. So for that day, it's a lot of caregiving things going on. So more
Wow.
vendors, more resources. It's also free. There'll be music and photo booth, all those types of things at the Hilton Hotel in Durham. And those are on my page on my website, which is www.withthemultipreneur.com. And they're also listed on Eventbrite. So if you want to just check out even more details or schedule, you can also find them on Eventbrite for those two locations. And if you would like to connect with us by phone, you can always call or text 703-508-1787.
Wonderful. Thank you. We're excited about this collaboration and this partnership. Oh, one more thing. So much is going on. We have our Savvy merch. You're going to see Miss Savvy. Yes, ma'am. You're going to see me. Go to
Okay.
Facebook, Savvy Caregivers. You're going to see our merchandise there. We have three shows. KKNO and 107.1 FM. We will be on there starting the second Tuesday in I can't keep up. In September at 9:30, we'll have a show on there, Savvy Caregivers, and then we will be also be doing WBOK on Saturday mornings at 9:30. So we're getting the word out. So
Yeah.
those of you who want to see this show again or want to hear what we have to say, this same podcast is going to air on those stations. That'll be our first show. So we're just excited about what the Lord is doing. He's just opening doors and making ways, and he's just doing what he does. He's amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, and so we thank you so much, Miss Whitney, for
Thank
your time.
you. Thank
Thank you for
you.
you caregivers for connecting with us. Like us. Now we need to see more likes. Do we need to see more likes?
Yes,
Because if
likes
we
and
were
share.
having a party or barbecue, the likes would be going through the roof. We
That's
want
all
to
right.
see more likes and hearts and comments. Comment. Let us know how you love this show. Let us know what we can do, what you need. And then I'm going to talk to Whitney to see if we can get together maybe at least once a month to do this together. I think that would be
Absolutely.
awesome as well. I love that.
Yes, me too. I think that'll be great. And, it'll be good to have, if there's some topics that we can get from caregivers, things that they want to hear about, that would be great too. We can address so that we're addressing what they want to hear. So,
That's
because it's such a vast variety of things that we could talk about with caregiving. And we want to know exactly what caregivers are struggling with or what they need more assistance on, or where can we support, how can we support them to be better caregivers,
absolutely.
um, and even
Because
to
it's all
grow
about
towards.
them. And finally there's something that's all about the caregiver, you know?
Yes, yes,
Awesome.
I love it.
Thank you so much. I love you, Miss Whitney.
Oh,
We
I
love
love
you
you too.
guys,
Yes,
and we're
thank
going to get
you.
better as we go. We're going to be more amazing as we go. And again, we want to see you November the 2nd, at the Knights of Columbus Hall at 475 Franklin Avenue in Gretna. And you're going to be so glad you came. You're going to leave better than you were when you came. I'm going to make sure of that. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank
We love
you.
you guys. Bye bye.